Improbable has created 2 new game development studios, one in Edmonton and one in London, to make online games powered by its SpatialOS cloud-based computing tech. The move marks Improbable's first steps into in-house game development since, up until now, the studio typically partnered with external developers that wanted to use SpatialOS to power their own online games. Each of the 2 studios has a familiar face behind it. The Edmonton outfit is set to be headed up by former BioWare General Manager Aaryn Flynn, while the London studio is led by Wasilczyk, former executive producer at both Epic Games and didn. In a press release, Improbable co-founder and CEO Herman Narula says that moving into game development serves to benefit future growth and development of SpatialOS as well. As our network of partners has grown, we have come to work with an incredible range of studios and projects, said Narula. We see our internal studios as a way to further support those partners by pushing technical and creative boundaries, and then sharing those learnings with our developer community. Video games now account for more than half of the entire United Kingdom entertainment market, according to a new report from the Entertainment Retailers Association. The United Kingdom games industry was worth $86 billion, $85 billion in 2018, which is more than double the combined $67 billion, $62 billion value of the country's video and music industries. Although the games market is now the biggest in United Kingdom entertainment, year-over-year sales of physical console and PC titles actually fell by 8%, while digital sales increased by 12.5%. That upswing means digital sales generated 81% of the United Kingdom's video game revenue in 2018. Although a lot of the biggest selling titles, such as FIFA 19, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Black Ops 4 still did well at retail, overall, the Borealys games came out on top because of the sheer scale of the industry, and noted that the video game market has now more than doubled in value since 2007. The games industry has been incredibly effective in taking advantage of the potential of digital technology to offer new and compelling forms of entertainment, commented Aaryn CEO Kim Bayley. Despite being the youngest of our 3 sectors, it is now by far the biggest. You can find out more by checking out the year's full report right here. We have also taken the liberty of highlighting the United Kingdom as best-selling physical console games of 2018 below. A few months ago, Mages of Mystralia launched on the Nintendo Switch, giving our friends at the GDC Twitch channel a chance to check in with the developers at Borealys Games and see how life has been treating them after making their custom spellcrafting adventure game. During that chat, game designer Patric Mondou shared helpful insights about the design of Mages of Mystralia as well as thoughts on a future of game publishing for smaller devs. You can read these selected portions of our QA with Mondou down below. Once our spell system was fairly advanced, we mostly toyed around with it, and we just played with the spells. Immediately you get inspirations for puzzles just playing with your system. If you can do that with your system, then it's probably because it's fairly advanced. It's probably because you have found something that's worth playing. If simply just toying around is fun, then you have a game. I am pretty sure that all the emergent games out there, like Minecraft, must be started with something along those lines. As soon as you see that, you can imagine having fun with the game for hours just looking at it. It means that it's just complex enough so that players have a lot to explore and discover. And one of the things that we wanted to design to go along with that system was a set of monsters and puzzles that forced the players to think creatively and create a new spell, and not always simply use the last spell they created and spam it. One of the most difficult things we had to do was find enemies that are not simply just meat shields, but actually require you to try something new. One of the enemies that's right along that philosophy is the gargoyle. It's an enemy that you can see in the crypt, which is our third dungeon, our third main area to explore. When we playtested the game and had players try out the game, one of the first things that they told us about that level is that the gargoyle, the enemy, is one of the most interesting enemies in the game, and not because the enemy itself is particularly difficult or appealing, but mostly because whenever they would discuss it between themselves, the playtesters found out that they each created a different spell to defeat it. One of them used what we had designed as the main solution, which was simply using a decoy. Another one created a stationary fireball that they would just use as a mine, so that the gargoyle would simply march on it and receive damage. And another player, he used an inverse augment on the fireball to shoot fireballs from his back. So we had 3 players, 3 playtesters that each had their own approach to solving the combat situation, but with completely different approaches. So once we saw that, we decided that it's what we wanted the all-out game to be. Of course, since we were too deep in production, we could only do so much. But from that point on, I think all the wild moments in the game, all the most interesting puzzles and combat were inspired by that moment of inspiration, where we kind of figured out how to design our enemies. A follow-up on this blog post. Another aspect to our production of the whole story behind the spell system is that, for the art style, we started off not being a 3D game, or not fully 3D game. Initially, we were going for a 5D game more along the lines of Do Not Starve, where we could use sprites. We wanted our characters to be 2D sprites in a 3D-ish environment, with low poly count, and maybe something that was flatter. Definitely flatter. As we built our spell system, we noticed that one of the most essential parts that we needed for the game was the fireball. So as long as we were able to make and design a fireball, we'd be able to make all sorts of puzzles. It was kind of the building block for all of the puzzles. In a 2.5D game, we found out it's super hard to aim at something, because you are just a sprite, right? How do you know where you are looking at? It was such a pain to design puzzles with that art style, that instead, we upped our game just a little bit to go full 3D, but still with a cartoony effect on the render. But that opened a new problem, where our spells could not be just sprites anymore. They needed to be particle systems, and thankfully the particle systems in Unity are easy to create, it's quite easy to manipulate. So we had to find a way of designing the visual effects in such a way that if a player added one of the attributes, like augments that make a fireball go right and left, or bonds, that the effects would actually represent that faithfully, and not just become a clumsy cluster of particles, which was the case at the beginning. So we were stuck between learning to make the game in 3D, or reverting and remaking all our assets in 3D, including the particle effects, plus being able to implement that or integrate that into the spell system without being too chaotic on the screen when you shoot your spells. It was a long process, to maybe not as long as complex as making the spell system. But I think for the technical artists out there, if I ever do write that blog post, I think the technical artists out there might have a fun time reading it. just because that's maybe one of the specialties we did not have in the team. We had no one who was specialized in making effects, or shaders, or whatever. So we were all trying for the first time. I even made some of them myself. One of our artists made some. We even hired a freelancer for a few months to help with that tour. So almost everyone on the project made at least one visual effect each. It's absurd. But we needed to wrap our head around that system, and that way of thinking that Unity has for that particle systems. The greatest difficulty in all of that is making them feel natural.